I'm sure there's some good meat in there. Some delicious crate dragon meat.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great. Like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name's Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're celebrating a full moon night. Because it was a full moon. It was a full moon last night.
Yeah, it was. That's right.
Yeah, thank you. Assassin's Creed is coming to Netflix. I know you're excited for this.
I didn't know. I wasn't expecting that, but
yep.
All right. I learned something new every time in the intro.
Right, thank you. I always put the one weird thing in here, okay? You got to guess which one it is. Well, I want everyone to get ready for the rise of animated movies and TV shows.
I'm always ready for that, Chris.
I know you are, and more.
Yeah. So heads up, I might sound slightly different this week moving forward. I upgraded to a new fancy microphone, the Yeti X. I feel like an adult. For the last I don't even know how many years we've been doing this podcast anymore. But
I think this is the end of our 6th full year.
Yeah, we're almost up to 300 episodes. So it took me this long to upgrade to a new microphone. So I'm no longer on the Snowball. I'm on the Yeti X. So I also took the pop filter off too to see if I really need it. So if I'm popping my P's or my S's a little too loud. I mean, I did that on purpose there, but
it didn't sound like it on my end. But I was like, do they even make the Snowball? I just looked at they do make the Snowball. So,
yeah, but I got this nice piece of hardware in front of me now, so hopefully everything just sounds a little bit better. I suppose it could be bad, much like the porn industry when HD video came out. Once you could see them a little bit better, they're like, ooh, we got to get different. We got to get different people in front of the camera now, more pretty people.
Yeah.
So if my voice was already bad to begin with, sorry if it's gotten even worse, is what I'm trying to say.
It's not that bad, Mike. You're doing great, honey. You're fine. You're good.
Thanks.
You're welcome. The scariest things was Halloween. That was last night. It's over.
Yeah.
I want to share my costume ideas, Mike, or what I dress up as, because I don't normally dress up, but I did 2 things this year. One for work and one for family. So the first thing I did was Bob Ross at work. I went around and painted stuff all day.
Great.
And you saw it. You saw the outfit. I had the beard to do it. I just had to get the hair. Everything else I already had, so that was pretty easy. But I actually painted stuff while I was at work. Just to show that I could do it. and then later that evening, I did a classic SpongeBob reference, Mike. Mermaid Man and my wife dressed up as Barnacle Boy.
Great couples costume. Great job.
Yeah. Well, here's the best part about it. I'm like, you know what? This could go beyond Halloween. Like, if I ever had to dress up for anything, I'm like, this isn't necessarily Halloween specific, is it? So I've got some stuff in my back pocket now, other than just re-wearing the Star-Lord mask I had from like 5 years ago.
Man, recently SpongeBob has made me feel very old, because are you familiar with, I think it's called the Goober Berry Sundae from SpongeBob?
Oh, I'm a goofy goober. Yeah.
So the Goober Berry Sundae, I wasn't familiar with until Babish made it on one of his recent episodes. And then I saw some people within the Halloween hashtags over the weekend were referencing it. And I think I saw another person who had a birthday cake that was shaped like the Goober Berry Sundae. And I was like, I do not remember this SpongeBob niche thing. So when I went back and I did some research, I kind of realized I only watched maybe the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob. So I do not know any of the references beyond the first couple of seasons, even though I really liked SpongeBob when I watched it. So there's this whole generation of kids that has never seen SpongeBob on standard ratio 4:3. They only know the widescreen SpongeBob and all of these new references that I don't get. So I'm just feeling so old, and the Goober Berry Sundae encompasses that. So I'm glad you did Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, which I'm sure they're still around in the SpongeBob lore, but they were OG characters.
Yeah.
So makes me feel comfortable.
Well, I went back to do my research, right? And I don't know if you know this, most, but not every SpongeBob episode is on Amazon right now until what they're on what's the CBS thing, Paramount.
Yeah, they'll probably go to that at some point in time.
Because I think they're Viacom through Nickelodeon. But visiting these, the actual voice actor for Mermaid Man has passed away, I think several years ago.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, you know, they are there. But I remember Gooberberry Sunday because of the SpongeBob movie, of course. So definitely that was something that was I'm not proud of growing up. That was like a lot of my decorations in my bedroom when I was like a teenager. I had nothing else going on. Superheroes weren't a thing yet, at least not culturally acceptable. But yeah, we did that. But speaking of Babish, I want to go on and say they did my favorite. He did my favorite food this week. The I just lost it, Mike. Oh my god.
The Brood Witch.
The Brood Witch from Aqua Teen. Yeah, there it is. I was like, I just had it. So he actually made the Brood Witch, and while I appreciate the effort this man goes through of like soaking these meats and putting them in brine and then getting the salt out of them, I was like desalating. I was like, this is a lot of work for this sandwich. I could probably make the bread and then just buy all the lunch meats I want and put on it instead.
Oh man, he made mortadella, and I've never seen mortadella made before. Like, I'm sure you can go on YouTube and find a factory that makes them, but like he made it from hand and it looked really good.
Yeah,
and I didn't even know that how it was made either. So I was like, oh man, I want to eat this sandwich.
Oh yeah, he made it, he sliced it, he soaked it. He did everything. I'm like, I am impressed with this wholeheartedly. The what he did. But I mean, if you've never seen The Brood Witch on Aqua Teen Hunger Force, it's on HBO Max, and it's about a sandwich that is made in the depths of hell, and if you eat it, like you actually get transported to a world that's reminiscent of the Beetlejuice cartoon, which was actually some inspiration for the Aqua Teen animators, if you didn't know that. So I thought it was very interesting that he did that. But I also have his cookbook. I forget what it is. It's about items or food in movies, and he puts them in a cookbook so you can make it at home. So it's pretty entertaining stuff. I really enjoy it. So
Halloween. That's one of the best thing about like holidays is usually the content that you watch, if it gets produced like, you know, in real time, kind of like YouTube does. People usually adapt to the holidays. So like a lot of my YouTube channels were doing spooky stuff over the last month. Some Let's Plays of video games that I would probably never play myself. Like I learned about this game called you probably know it, Dead by Daylight.
Yes.
It's really cool. I had no idea this was even a video game that exists, or even like the premise of it, where you can either be the people running from the kind of slasher, or you can be the slasher yourself, and it's kind of like an online versus game. And they have some IP characters that you can be like kind of Freddy, I believe. You can be, I don't remember if it's Jason or if it's who's the other guy that's like Jason, because there's like one hockey mask and there's one that's like
there's a Scream guy, Michael
Myers and Jason. Yeah, one of those people are in the game.
Halloween, actually.
You can be Pyramid Head and stuff. So I was watching some people play that game, and I was like, oh, this is really smart. So I love spooky content. I don't ingest it a whole lot, but I like enjoying it kind of like from a third person's point of view, watching other people experience it.
Well, we actually had a good time this week. You, me, and friend of the show, Quentin Parker, actually got to get in on a couple rounds of Zombie Warzone in Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, and I thought that was like a special thing, but once I realized that like every online free to play was doing it, like apparently Apex was doing it, Fortnite's doing it. Like I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other online games that I don't play all did Halloween stuff. But this is kind of one of the cool unintended consequences of kind of like a free to play like microtransaction game, is where, you know, since it has to live forever, you get these fun experiences on the holidays. So I don't know if they're going to do anything like during like the holiday season. If they add snow to Verdansk, that would be kind of cool, but I don't know if they'll do that.
Fortnite is known that on Christmas Day they do everything in snow, but they've done like Christmas themed like month long or several week long events before, so, and give out free stuff if you sign in. So I know Fortnite does. Call of Duty maybe. I don't think it was popular, or maybe even not out last Christmas. So and they have a new game coming out they're tying into. So it's really gonna be interesting. Video games the next 3 months are gonna be interesting, Mike, and you know this because new consoles are coming out. So we have next generation games trying to work on old generation consoles and vice versa, because they don't want to mix those those markets. And we were talking about Watchdog Legions. Just struggling right now until it comes out for the next generation console. So I'm hoping.
I mean, we'll be talking about actually some video games later in the show too. So yeah, it's video games. It's the holiday. Like, okay, let's get it out there. It's November 1st. You know, officially for some people, we are already in the holidays. You know, screw Thanksgiving, screw anything else that happens. It's only going to be Christmas, or, you know, even it doesn't even matter what religion you celebrate. People get on board with the gift giving season, I guess is what you'd say it is. So you got a lot of new stuff that's out. People know that people are going to be buying video games and stuff for people. Even Cyberpunk is doing their best to still try to come out during the holiday season because they want people to be buying it for their kids and their teens and their loved ones. So it's just that time of the year. Get ready for merch. Get ready for swag. Get ready for hardware to be sold to you.
And get ready to order it online because you should not be out in the stores right now. You stay home and order it online. Just in case we talked about this before the show started, Best Buy keeps doing random Black Friday deals in the middle of the week. So
it's like Black Friday has lost all meaning. Like it's not even a Friday anymore. It's whenever. Wasn't there like a Prime Day like 2 weeks ago or something like that?
I think it was. It was like maybe a month ago or something. It was like 2 days of Prime Days, and Walmart did it, and then Best Buy did it. Now Best Buy's like, well, we're doing this every week. I'm like, okay, whatever, man. But that 70-inch TV for $500 keeps looking at me. But no, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff like that. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get it because I don't know how to segue to this, Mike. This is one of the hardest segues ever. Is that sad news that Sean Connery passed away this week at 90. I thought he was much older. If I was gonna be completely honest with everyone, but he's always looked old. I mean, he went from James Bond to Indiana Jones' dad pretty quickly. I think
that's true.
He was in Highlander, and what was that crazy ass movie where he was in the spandex Zardoz?
Oh God, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right? But that's it's sad. I mean, the last movie he did was actually a superhero comic book movie, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to bring up where I don't want to be crass or anything like that. It's always sad when someone beloved passes away, but I kind of thought he might have been gone already, only because he retired such a long time ago. And to Sean Connery's credit, one of the few actors that has ever announced retirement and actually meant it, right? Because he's just been out of the public light forever, which is probably good. That's what you want when you're famous and you retire. You want to kind of go on and live your life and do the things that you enjoy without being hounded by people. And when you do projects in Hollywood, you get hounded by the press. So I'm sure, after a couple years, just things started to trail off. And so I really hope he enjoyed, the last kind of chapters of his life where he wasn't part of the Hollywood machine anymore. But yeah, like I hadn't thought about Sean Connery in years until that news popped up, and I was like, oh dang, that's sad. But I think a lot of people are probably talking about the things that he was most well known for. Definitely James Bond. For some reason, the weird connection that I have to Sean Connery is always Entrapment, because that's that movie that's that movie that kind of kicked off. People weren't using the word meme back then, but kind of that meme of people trying to move through the laser grid. I know that wasn't that Catherine Zeta-Jones that actually did it in the movie. But I think he had his own version of it at some point in the movie. But I think this was one of those weird movies that I just happened to see in theaters as a slightly younger age. So it's just kind of burned into the back of my brain. So whenever I think Sean Connery, I usually think Entrapment, and then I usually go to The Rock, which would probably be one of my favorite movies that he's been in, because it's like top Nicolas Cage, top Sean Connery. It's just pure Michael Bay action.
It's actually a good Michael Bay movie. You're like, okay, I can get down to this one, before we went to that thing. I mean, I always say, again, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is where I lean into it. But again, that's 89, and that's where he looked old then. It's like when I was like, any time now. But but yeah, and the memes from Hunt Red October, because of his accent, was always so thick.
His accent's great. Yeah, he was a treasure, and he gave us a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then again, being the first Bond, which we're still waiting for No Time to Die, the new one. So definitely, I mean, like I said, he's not been anything recently, but that still doesn't make it any less sad.
He's the type of iconic actor that if he was still working, at some point in time, he either would have been or rumored for a big superhero part. He would have been a villain or maybe a hero's parent or something like that. Just because we're seeing a lot of these old classic actors kind of loop back around through the MCU because all of the middle-aged directors grew up with these actors and want them in their movie. Just look at Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's just if this is something he still wanted to do, we would definitely had been talking about him on the show regularly. So I'm happy that we get to talk about him now, about our weird connections with him. But yeah, Sean Connery, he was great.
Yeah, exactly. It just don't go back and watch LXG. Just save your guy. Look at remember him in a better light than that movie ever did for him. So But it was based on a comic book movie. I don't know if people knew that. Is that a common fact for people?
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, if anybody even remembers the movie, it might be hard for them to remember it's based on a property.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but it was like Alan Moore style comic book stuff. So so that's sad to do that. Let's jump into the QuaranStream. We're about 1 for 1 on these. Looks like this week. So, let's go ahead. You jump into yours. We've got mostly seasonally related watched items, except one right in the middle here. Which
we'll start. Yeah, I'm sure we'll start shifting since we're kind of in this holiday season. We'll probably be getting into Christmas movies here soon. But off the top, to kind of wrap up Halloween, we finished Bly Manor, the Netflix series in this household. We had a great time, and I won't spoil anything, but it ends in a way I wasn't expecting, which I would say was kind of refreshing, and it kind of ties up very nicely at the end. So overall, I was told through other people that the first, I guess, quote unquote season, The Haunting of Hill House, is more scary. And even though this one did creep me out at points in time, I would say it's a lot more inclusive if you're a person that maybe not like spooky stuff too much. So give Bly Manor a watch. I suppose you might want to wait a year if you want to still be in the spooky season, but Bly Manor I would recommend.
And I did confirm that they use the same sets, but like they're rearranged differently. So like, oh, this feels weird and similar, but it's a different thing.
And once I finished watching it, I went on IMDb to kind of look at the actors and stuff like that. And some of them do cross over between Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. So yeah, they are kind of doing the American Horror Story thing, but in a slightly different manner. Netflix just kind of categorizes them differently. Like once we finished watching Bly Manor, it wouldn't just automatically start playing Hill House because technically it's considered a separate show within the Netflix algorithm. But Bly Manor, check it out. I'm curious to see if they're going to do another season next year. Obviously COVID might affect it, but yeah, look for what they do next. The next Halloween recommendation I would not recommend at all, but Netflix might push it in your face. It is Hubie Halloween, which I believe dropped early in October. So this might be old news for you already, but we made the mistake of checking it out a little bit yesterday. Then we went on to other things, and then we finished it this morning. And the Adam Sandler movie Hubie Halloween is just atrocious. I hate it. I went online to check the hashtag, and I saw there are some people out there that are enjoying it, but I don't know what's wrong with them. I'm not trying to be mean. If you liked the movie, I would like to have a spirited debate with you, but I can probably shoot down every facet of this film. So throw it at me. I can destroy it.
You meant Netflix rather than Hulu, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I haven't watched this yet. I hadn't heard about it until this week.
It's the name. They wanted Hubie to sound like happy, but also rhyme with Halloween. So I'm thinking Hulu.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I just know there's one review I read, and it's like, if you're immune to the star's charms, you won't find it much of a treat. And I'm like, you have to be like, again, this is like, if you're still an Adam Sandler fan after 25 years.
It's just weird. And the sad thing is you're watching this film and they put a lot of Sandler-isms in it, like canon Sandler-isms. There's like a bully kid on a bike that when he rides away, he says, "Oh, Doyle rules." I believe the mean Ben Stiller nurse from Happy Gilmore is at the beginning of this movie, so I believe that character is in canon. So there's other like Happy Madison stuff that almost like ties Hubie Halloween to these universes, but it's just all dumb. I hate all of the jokes. I hate Adam Sandler's character because he's trying to play like a weird character, much like the Waterboy, but the Waterboy had charm to him. Yeah. Like Hubie has like no charm to him at all, and they're kind of towing this weird line of like, is this character supposed to be mentally challenged? Like, so they're kind of doing that old 90s thing of just like, oh, I'm making like a weird character, that, and if people thought about it more now, you would probably want to say like, oh, he should be going to a therapist or be on medication to try to mitigate the way he moves throughout the world. And people pick on him in this movie, so you just feel really bad for him because it's just like there's something wrong with this guy. These people are so mean. It's not like they're just like being mean to like a nerd, And it almost feels like this script was originally written to be a cartoon because wacky things happen that just totally throw off, this kind of universe that's built around Hubie, because he has like this multi-purpose thermos where you could like make a joke like, oh, it's like a thermos, but if you flip it around, maybe there's a flashlight built into it, or he has like a compass glued to the side. But no, there's like a grappling hook that shoots out of it. There's like a vacuum built into it. So it's totally destroying the laws of physics, but it's a live action movie that like kind of hints at like ghosts and ghouls being in it, but you never really quite see them. And there's really famous people in it, like Shaq's in it, Maya Rudolph, like I said earlier, Ben Stiller, Steve Buscemi, and it's just like, why are you in this trash? I mean, I wasn't expecting to go all steamed broccoli on this movie, but like Andy and I were just watching it, and we were just like, this is just awful.
Here's why. This is the product of a straight to streaming film. The budget's low, right? The quality's low. And they just like, hey, we have some extra money. We're not going to spend it on production. We're going to hire these actors who are her friends. I mean, I could see literally why these people are in here because they're friends with them, but like, they probably didn't get the whole script. They're like, hey, can you come do this scene for us real fast?
Yeah, can you just come? We're just giving you one page.
But this is a tip. I mean, again, you not say you act surprised, but it is an Adam Sandler joint with all the typical, the usual suspects. If you will.
I mean, I guess you just kind of hoped like, oh, he's busting out a new character or something he hasn't quite done in a while.
No, this isn't Uncut Gems 2, Mike. Pump your brakes.
Well, he kept true to his word where he said if the Uncut Gems didn't kind of get what it deserved through the award circuit, he was going to go back to making trash, and I totally believe it. So. Steer clear of Hubie Halloween just because it's PG-13 with some crass jokes, but I feel like the only people that could possibly enjoy this movie are children. And I don't know if it's quite totally safe for kids, but I don't. It's just so weird, Chris. I cannot put my seal of approval on Hubie Halloween.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's fine. The only reason I knew about it was because of that damn flask you were mentioning. Someone was talking about, I was like, it's like a Swiss Army flask, and he's like, yeah, like that kind of thing. Or not a flask, but a thermos, I guess.
Yeah, but I'll end my QuaranStream on the highest of highs. I think this would probably be the biggest recommendation I've ever given on the QuaranStream, and that is
write the date down, folks. Hold on, write the date down. My favorite show that I've seen in a long time. It's just hilarious. It's heartwarming. I love the actors. I love the characters. I love everything about it. And it'll shock you to know, Chris, that this show is on Apple Plus, a platform we pretty much never talk about. And that's a show by the name of Ted Lasso. I mean, I don't even know what to say beyond the name, but if you happen to come across it, either advertised to you or if you're on Apple Plus, you might not know anything about it because all you ever see is the name Ted Lasso and a picture of Jason Sudeikis, which is an actor I really, really love. So, I was curious about the show. I hadn't really checked it out, but I believe it was airing weekly, and there's 10 episodes of it. So I believe the last episode just aired recently because people had been starting to recommend it online, and I was like, well, this must be a big deal because I have not seen anybody recommend anything from Apple Plus. So I was like, all right, I got to check it out, see what's going on here. We're a Jason Sudeikis household, so we checked it out, and it is just a delight. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what the story is because it's pretty straightforward. It's a Division II college football coach who gets a little bit of success from a team that he coaches, gets hired to fly across the pond to coach a Premier League soccer team / football team. And he's totally a fish out of water, out of his element. He has this, Jason Sudeikis puts on this like Southern Kansas accent, which is really fun and really charming. I don't know how authentic it is, but it's fun to listen to him. And he just plays this happy-go-lucky guy where nothing gets him down. He almost never gets mad at anybody. He always believes in everything. And he's just like this pillar of joy. And then he's surrounded by all of these curmudgeons that just do everything that they can just to really grind him down. But he's just so resilient and so positive. And just over these like 10 episodes, he just connects with people. And it's almost kind of that same secret sauce that Parks and Rec has, where it's just a bunch of nice people just trying to do their best, but then hilarity ensues. I get a lot of that out of Ted Lasso. So,
You gotta watch this show. I think it's totally worth, even if you have to pay for a month of Apple Plus. You'll watch these easily all within a week. So you might even be able to get away with just a trial if they do those. But you got to watch Ted Lasso. It's already been renewed for a 3rd season, and they haven't even started production on season 2 yet. So it's so good, and I don't even know anything about soccer. I barely keep up with sports, but they do a great job. They do a great job letting anybody in on it, because since Ted is also totally oblivious to soccer, there's a lot of conversations where he's trying to catch up, trying to figure out what the rules of the Premier League are and stuff like that. So you as an audience, connect with him and learn along the way. But it's so good. You have to watch Ted Lasso. It's just hilarious. It's funny. It's heartwarming. It's a great back-to-back with like the Great British Bake Off. Those people make you feel good. Ted Lasso will make you feel good. So, watch Bly Manor, skip Hubie Halloween, and then go check out Ted Lasso. That's the QuaranStream from me, Chris.
For you. So I went more classic here this week. I because of last week's outside of the show joke where I was told I could not say "busted makes me feel good" as many times as we could. If anyone caught that, I appreciate it. I was told I couldn't do it, so I did as many times as we could, and it's even in the show title, Mike. That's how far we went. I actually went and watched Ghostbusters, both 1 and 2 this week, and to kind of go through and do that, because again, here's the thing: Ghostbusters, this is not a Halloween movie. They're neither Halloween movies. I don't know if you know this. They're just movies about New York. The second one is actually more Christmas time, if you will. I believe. I think the second was Christmas time. The first one's not kind of in the middle of nowhere. But what I really enjoy about these is, this 80s group of people getting together. They all got their personalities. The movie just goes, right? They don't set up like, here's why ghosts are in the world, or here's the history of ghosts. They just jump right into the movie, both of them. Absolutely wonderful. And what's disappointing about these movies, and is I want more ghosts. I really wanted more ghosts, but I think that's maybe like why their charm lasts so long, is because they don't over give you the ghosts, so you don't overanalyze them. But if you go watch, there's a lot of like old classic stop motion for a lot of these ghosts, like where they do them and then they put them in there. Because I think if they would have done them in like real actors, like, or the newer ones did the CG stuff, I think that's like it doesn't feel like a real ghost, right? It doesn't feel real and tangible. So I definitely appreciate watching Ghostbusters 1. 2, I remember Ghostbusters 2 more simply because they take the Statue of Liberty downtown.
Well, we were also the right age for Ghostbusters 2. I've noticed a lot of people kind of in our age group will have more fond memories of Ghostbusters 2. And if you're older than us, you'll be like, oh no, it's all about Ghostbusters 1. Ghostbusters 2 was just a cash grab for toys. And I was just like, well, I was a child who played with toys. So yeah, Ghostbusters 2 I remember the most.
But what toys? I mean, that's maybe the real Ghostbusters animated show.
Chris, I had Ghostbusters toys. I had the Ghostbusters firehouse that you could put the action figures in, and I had the action figures for all the characters. I think at one point in time we had a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It wasn't gigantic though. I think it was maybe more like 8 inches tall or something like that. But I think it got lost because I don't remember having it for a very long period of time.
Those are all the first movie, thankfully. So that's good. I think the only thing that ever come out of Ghostbusters that I wish would be out year round is, of course, Ecto Cooler. It's been a while since I've had them. I'm out fresh out of Ecto Coolers, Mike. Ghostbusters 1 and 2 got good shit. Also, I was gonna say Ghostbusters 2 was like that. It was like one of those first like free HBO weekend movies or whatever that you'd watch. Like they're just showing Ghostbusters 2 all weekend because they don't want to give you the good movies. So there's that. And lastly, I came home the other day and my wife was watching Hocus Pocus on TV, so we watched some Hocus Pocus this week. Are you familiar? You're familiar, of course. I think we've talked about it. Movies, like I think was you and I talked about, the movie's not very well made, but it's still enjoyable at the end of the day. So
yeah, it's just kind of one of those classics. I mean, it was I believe it was a theatrical bomb. It didn't perform very well. It's kind of one of those things that's found its life later. So I mean, you don't watch it for many things except for just the charm of it. Just imagine being a kid when you watched it, and there's not a whole lot of family friendly Halloween movies, Hubie Halloween is definitely a drop off the cliff. So,
well, I don't think there's a lot of family. I think there are a lot of family. I mean, there's Addams families and stuff like that. But like, I think the thing about Hocus Pocus is I think the actors in that are trying so hard to do their best. Like they're good actors, right? Like you got Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker, Doug Jones, who's known for like being in all the Guillermo del Toro movies. They're good actors. They're trying their hardest, but like. And that's what makes the charm of the movie that much better. Because if they were just in a movie like we're in a bad movie, we're not going to give our best.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like people are there just for a paycheck.
Yeah, and that's the fun part of it. So there's that. But I this is enough. We've gone on 30 minutes without actually getting to the news, and people want to know the last bit of our QuaranStream, Mike, is season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Ooh, season 2 of Mando is back. I mean, I can't believe it's been a year since we've been able to watch Mando. I sent a picture to the screen to the group chat of my TV where Roku has a little advertisement on the side, and I'm already seeing Baby Yoda toys advertised. They are prepared. They are ready this year for people getting Baby Yodas in their stockings and in their gifts.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I was prepared. I was ready to go. Chris, you mentioned to me that you were going to wake up at like 7 a.m. to watch this. I waited until the evening, and I mostly avoided spoilers.
Yes.
So we're going to, at the top here of this segment, we're going to avoid spoilers. But it would be weird if we don't talk about some of the cool stuff that happened in this episode. So check out the information section of the podcast player, or if you're listening on YouTube, in the comments. We got time codes. So if you haven't watched it yet, which would be surprising, I would think the cross-section of people that really like our podcast hopefully would have gotten around to watching episode 1. But who knows? You could have a hectic life and you're on the go and you haven't had a chance to watch it. So check out the time codes if you don't want to hear the spoilers. But at the top, let's talk non-spoilers for Mandalorian. Did you wake up at 7 a.m. to watch it?
No, Chris? I did not. Well, I actually did. I woke up at 7. I was like, I'm so goddamn tired. And then I knew my day was so busy I wouldn't be able to watch it. I actually didn't get to it till Saturday morning. And I talked to you about this a little bit because I got my new lights in for my TV, so I was going to try to watch it there. I didn't get to do that either. But what I enjoy about this episode, Mike, is they do play what you enjoyed, the little recap before the episode, built into the episode. So if you're like, do I need to watch all of season 1?
Which sounds trivial, but if I'm correct, is this the very first season 2 of a Disney Plus original? Like I wasn't actually 100% sure if they were going to play a recap in front of it or not.
Of something of this caliber, yes.
So yeah, we get a 2-minute recap off the top of what happened in season.
Exactly, and it hits the highlights. It doesn't ruin any. It doesn't go through everything, but it hits the highlights and what matters, which is cool. But what I enjoyed the most about this episode is, Mike, it doesn't hold our hand. It doesn't give us I guess like a mystery, a new something. It just hits the ground running and it just goes. And that's why I really like it.
And just like the title, it's called Chapter 9.
Yeah.
So it really just seems like a continuation. Like I feel like if you ever, binge watch these all in a row, it will just feel like, okay, the adventure is continuing,
Yeah, exactly. Like if you hadn't seen any and you're watching them and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you never know there was a skip. Really. Like it just goes right into it. And it's so fun. And, there are a couple things about this episode, Mike, I'll tell you there. I think I can tell where they had to rush some production, possibly due to, shutdown for half the year, if not more. But I don't think it takes away from the quality of the episode and how strong these characters are and how much, you don't see his face, but you love the Mandalorian. Baby Yoda doing Baby Yoda stuff, right? This child, he is holding true to what he is. And, and some other familiar locales from season 1, which was fun. So, I'm trying to not say anything about this episode, very, very carefully. But there are Easter eggs like nobody's business. You'd think it was April. Easter eggs are in this thing.
Yeah, out the wazoo. I had a chance to watch it twice, so the second time I watched it, I was taking notes, so I kind of remember to bring these things up. So I knew we were going to have to talk spoilers. But before we get to that, this episode is longer for sure. Yeah. So, Chris, if you intended to watch this early morning on a Friday, I think a lot of these episodes are going to be longer. You're going to have to wake up a little bit earlier because this one clocked in around like 50 minutes, maybe 50 and some change.
It was like 54, I think 52 if you take out the intro.
Yeah, but I mean, just this one feels more like a Western than any of the other episodes that have been out there, in my opinion. You know, you get a lot of classic homages to kind of like Western towns and stuff like that. And, you know, riding out into like, you know, I don't want to call it wilderness because it's like desert, but, you know, you get a lot of that going on. So I appreciate a lot of that stuff. It's felt like it, you know, that's how a lot of people were describing season 1. So it kind of feels like they went all in on this episode. If I had to ding The Mandalorian in any sort of way, because I just have so much fun when I'm watching it, but if I had to ding it in any way, I'm kind of really desperately looking for a through line. You know, when we left off on Mando, he had this journey where he's going to try to return the child to its original home. But like, it still feels like we're in a very episodic zone still for The Mandalorian. So it kind of feels like an older cartoon where it's just like, hey, we need you to crank out 100 episodes of this cartoon. Don't make the narrative connect really in any way, because we're going to air these all out of order in the afternoon when kids get off the school bus. So don't worry about a through line. So even though The Mandalorian does have a little bit of it, it's not a whole lot. So I hope as the season moves along, maybe things connect and build a little bit more. We got a little bit of that in season 1, but
I remember specifically your complaint about season 1 was that exact complaint. But it all worked together. I think, you know, all of them tied together, but like, you know, they are. I mean, I don't know. Are they doing different directors per episode in this again? I'm
not 100% sure, but the thing is, it is only the first episode. It's the season premiere, so things could change. But if they decide that that's just not how they want to tell the story of The Mandalorian, I'll just have to kind of maybe just mentally change and just kind of sit myself in a different chair when I watch it. Just because a lot of the drama sci-fi stuff that I watch, you know, there's a through line most of the time. Like anything that's usually more than like 20 minutes and it's not a comedy usually has some sort of overarching story. But, you know, maybe we'll get it. Maybe, maybe we won't.
The overarching story is what you mentioned. Get the child to his people. We just don't know how he's going to get there yet. Like there's not a clear path. And I think they're purposely not giving that yet, because what I think, and we'll talk about it here probably in spoilers, is I think they were going to open up the Star Wars lore a lot more for us along this journey than we did before. Yeah, I think one played it very safe. 2, I think, is going to go a little more wild. Yeah,
I mean, the big plus here is, like I said, even though it's a complaint, I'm still having a great time. So, do you want to jump in the spoilers? I see you have a little bit of news here. Do you want to
just
talk
the
about
only
that
other news is, we will confirm Ahsoka Tano was not in this episode, but the India account for Disney Plus shared this image saying, pretty much confirming Rosario Dawson is set to play the clone Jedi, but they had to delete this like right afterwards. So I think they're really, really holding this close to their chest on what if it's going to be a flashback or real life or what that's going to look like.
Yeah, it looks like what did you say? It's Disney India.
Disney Plus India's account.
Yeah, they shared that. Yeah, it's like a little infographic that says Rosario Dawson is set to play the famous Clone Wars Jedi.
Yeah.
So,
and they're like, what does he look like? Well, we don't know yet. We're not going to show you.
Oh yeah, the little hot star logo. That is India. So
yeah. I'm gonna jot down the spoiler code here, Mike, because we're gonna get into this a little bit.
Yeah, let's get into it because. Ahsoka might not have been revealed, but we got a couple reveals in this episode, and man, I was so glad to see my boy Timothy Olyphant. I mean, we like Jason Sudeikis in this household, but man, Timmy O, as I like to call him, he is my favorite. I told Andy when we were watching this episode, I was like, yeah, Timothy Olyphant's supposed to be in this season, but I don't know 100% what episode he's supposed to be in. But then when the episode started to move along and, he was talking about other Mandalorians and Mandalorian armor, I was just like, oh, this is going to be it. So when the Boba Fett armor walks into the bar and, like, Timothy Olyphant's voice is behind the helmet, like, my wife kind of looks over at me. I was like, is that Timmy O? Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, that's Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah. So the Mandalorian goes back to Tatooine, right? I think I'm gonna Timmy O was a great thing, and I think when you mentioned Western, he was in Deadwood,
Justified. He might have been in Deadwood, but I know he was in Justified.
Justified, which playing a gunslinger, and this he's doing the same thing again, which was awesome because the Mandalorian's
he's great at it.
Yeah. So he's been typecast forever now as this. But I want to jump back. So I don't know if you noticed this, but whenever he went to the main bad guy, I guess not the main bad guy, but the
Cyclops.
gangster Yeah, the Cyclops Gore Koresh. I was looking. I thought it was Jon Favreau doing the voice of this character. It's John Leguizamo who did that character.
Oh, okay.
Super Mario Brothers' own Luigi.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was somebody known, just because I feel like in these Star Wars shows, whenever there's like a monster where you can't see their face or something, like, oh, there's an actor under there that I know. I just don't know who it is.
Yeah, so I thought that was fun. But then we go back to Tatooine. We get a revisit. I forget the character's name. Peli, the Amy Sedaris on Tatooine there, who wants to buy the baby, but not really.
Yeah, she says, if that thing divides or buds, give me a call.
Yeah, so which is cool. So we go and we meet Timothy Olyphant, what was he called, the Marshal in this little island most people go. And then what was cool was right after that he's riding a cycle out to take down this crate dragon, right? So this is the as we talked about, crate dragons are the big mystery monster. You need a boss in Star Wars, you fight a crate dragon. Knights of the Old Republic fans will know this. But he's riding what looks to be Anakin's pod racer.
Yeah, I
section.
wasn't 100% sure if that was indeed his, but I was like, oh, that's definitely Pod Racer Remnants, which I thought was a super cool Easter egg. And like you said, you thought this might be straight up Easter with all the eggs in here, and possibly a literal egg at the end. I'm not 100% sure.
Not the pearl. The pearl's not an egg. That's like a prized possession, if you will.
Yeah, I actually found that out when I was doing a lot of my Crate Dragon research. Yeah, I was on Wikipedia this weekend. I had to figure this out. Crate Dragons, like Chris said, range in size. There's some that are more like I want to say like large animal sizes, and obviously they expand up to the size of a mountain in this episode. But I was looking at all of the appearances or mentions that Crate Dragons have had, and it seems like they're mainly popping up in video games. I mean, like, talk about a boss that you need to fight in a game, or just any creature is just like, hey guys, did you know that there's dragons in Star Wars? Oh, what are they called? It's a Crate Dragon. Oh yeah, put that in this game. We're putting them in every Star Wars video game ever.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the Crate Dragon bones are made infamous in A New Hope, right? When C-3PO is walking across the desert, and there's these dragon bones behind him. Like, what hell of a creature is on this planet? And it's apparently a Crate Dragon who actually ate a sarlacc out of its pit and was using that pit as a home, which was a cool little thing. Like, what do you mean there's something more dangerous than a sarlacc?
That was really cool. I love the idea of, to me, since I didn't really know much about the Crate Dragon, I was like, oh, they're introducing a new beast to me, and then they're making it super badass by letting me know that the only other beast I know about really on Tatooine has been killed by it. So that really upped the ante for me. But speaking about like the little tidbits and hints, we get to see the ice cream maker again that holds all of the, what are the, not Kyber crystals, the Kaiser crystals, or what are those called?
There's some sort of like little purple crystals that he that the Marshal uses to buy Boba Fett's armor from Jawas.
Another cool thing that I caught when they show up to that town at the beginning, I noticed that there's a character that has a hairstyle very similar to Qui-Gon's. So I like the idea that they're using the hair inspiration. And then there's another character that's dressed very similarly to Leia, which I thought was kind of cool, like in like kind of like a white gown. And I don't think the hair was quite in buns, but it was definitely an updo. So yeah, they sprinkle the Star Wars love in this show wherever they can put it.
There's also the Mando hits the Marshal's jetpack and makes him fly away, just like how Boba Fett died in that. There was I was gonna say something else, but like the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders got a really good standout in this.
I'm
working
sure
with them and showing them as people.
I'm sure they've had extended lore in like a book or a comic book, but this is the first time we've seen like live action lore added to them, which I thought was pretty cool. Like Mando, he's the man, like he's the dude that you want on the ground doing your job because he can make friends with anybody.
Exactly, like he's out there talking to these people. I mean, he did it in the first episode, right, or the first season, right? But like seeing it flesh out, there are really no Tusken Raider things, and it was sad to see the banthas being used as bait, but making you feel for these characters.
My wife was really sad because the way they kill the Crate Dragon at the end is feeding it an explosive bantha, and they kind of telegraph it in a shot where Mando like looks over at this thing covered in bombs, and like my wife was just like, oh no, what's about to happen? So I think I might have to get her a gift of like a stuffed bantha or something like that.
What at the end of the day, what is cool is the Mando was eaten by this creature, the Crate Dragon, and was able to escape before he blew it up right out of the mouth, just like another famous Mandalorian. who shows up at the end of this episode.
Oh man,
confirmation in Star Wars, Mike. Full confirmation. Full stop. Boba Fett's alive.
And I mean, I did my best to avoid spoilers. The only spoiler that I did get before I watched the show was just the headline of just like, oh, let's talk about the character reveal at the end of the season premiere of The Mandalorian. And I was just like, man, now I know that there's going to be a reveal at the end of the episode.
Well, there always was going to be. You know that. That's what they did with Baby Yoda last year.
So I thought possibly maybe they were talking about just Boba Fett in general being in the episode. And, you know, I don't know exactly what website was doing this article. So I was like, oh, they're probably just talking about the Boba Fett armor. So I was just kind of expecting to see that in the episode. So once they added that tag at the end, I was like, oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
You have to be really keen-eyed. If you're just a casual Star Wars fan, you know, there's a really good chance you don't know who the hell that was.
Well, my wife didn't know. Offhand, she's like, who is that? I'm like, well, that's Tamura Morrison. She's like, well, who's that? I'm like, well, he's only played a couple thousand characters in Star Wars.
And then it's like, okay, stop beating around the bush, husband. Please just tell me who this person is.
So he originally played Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, who is the actual basis for all the clones, and they have one genetically unmodified clone made for him, Boba. Boba Fett grows up in this, he'd be about 50 in the 50 age range, because Boba Fett is an unmodified clone, meaning he does not age rapidly like the clones did, which would be about 70 or older in this show. So if people are like, well, is it a clone or is it Boba Fett? It's Boba Fett, because he would literally be that age at this point in the series.
And also, it's just like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they know what people want. They're not just going to do a whole episode about Boba Fett's armor and then at the end fake you out with a clone, you know? Like, they wouldn't be that mean.
Yeah, well, it was fun to see Boba Fett's armor in use when he used the rocket, you know, a couple of times.
Oh, the double jetpack scene. I love that when they both shot up to get on that cliff to start shooting them. I was like, hell yeah, I love jetpacks. We're seeing a vintage Mando and the new Mando flying around. It was great. I loved it. And I really liked how they didn't go out of their way to make the Mandalorian armor fit Timothy Olyphant, because he's a tall guy. He looked actually kind of goofy in the armor. Yeah. But if you really think about it, if he's a marshal, if he's just trying to protect his people, he doesn't really care what he looks like. He needs tough armor that can withstand those revolt of those miners in the town. So he's just like, yeah, give me that armor. I don't care what I look like in it. Yeah, I'll look a little goofy, but I mean, it wasn't made for me.
Well, it kind of looked I was just like, this looked like a bad Halloween costume for something.
Yeah, like you bought like a 12-year-old Halloween costume.
The last Boba Fett costume on the shelf was made for children, and you're like, I'm gonna make this work somehow. Yeah. But I thought it was really cool. I mean, this is only episode 1, so I know there's gonna be more. He took a piece of that meat that we talked about earlier before the show, so like I think he's gonna. He didn't say where he was going next, right? Like he was sent to this planet from Gor Koresh. So where's he going next? When will Grief Karva and Cara Dune show back up? I don't know. A lot of questions, not a lot of answers, Mike, and I'm very excited for next week's episode.
Oh, I mean, I loved being back into the Mando world, because one thing that Star Wars, whether you hate the movies or you like certain movies or whatever, the music, the score is so good. I loved hearing the Mando score again. It was just great. There's like the Mando score that's kind of like the low thumping. That's great. But and then there's also that grandiose one that they've made for the show that kind of is reminiscent more of like a big Star Wars score. I love that one too. So yeah, the music is always good, and I love hearing it again. It's kind of like they always say that like smell is the strongest sense tied to memory. I feel like sound's got to be the second, because man, once I hear it, I'm in it.
It's iconic and it's unique. You're not hearing other themes like that yet. Someone will come out and try to rip it off, but like it's beautiful. Again, not to say anything, but like they actually edit this in Dolby Atmos, Mike. So like my new sound system was like feeding me Star Wars like, every direction. I'm like, this is amazing. This is what I want going forward. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm sad it's week to week, but at the same time, I'm like, a nice ritual is good for this show. Got
something to look forward to, man.
Yeah, I don't have to bang it out on our Fridays because everyone will ruin it on Sunday for you. So I love it. All right, spoilers over. Let's jump into some next Star Wars news. There's interest in Star Wars single player games. Mike, did you know this?
Yo, apparently.
The Force, not the Force Unleashed. The what's that one? The Last Jedi, or the not the Last Jedi, the Jedi one. Fallen
I
Order.
always forget the name. I own it, and I don't remember the name of the game.
Jedi Fallen Order has really got a long, strong sense about that. And EA has said that they are interested in working on, or they have started working on the Force Unleashed 3, the third game in the series, which was previously left on a cliffhanger, if you will.
Oh, I didn't know. I mean, the thing I remember the most about that game is people seem to really connect with the gameplay. I remember when that first one came out, it was kind of not really revolutionary, but it was different from what we've been getting from a lot of Star Wars games. And you were kind of you were Vader's disciple, right? So you kind of started out as the bad guy, and I believe that kind of evolves into a good guy over time.
So
right?
so you're fighting, you're fighting Vader, and then the second one you're fighting Vader and the Emperor at one point. So you're very strong, and it did end on a cliffhanger, which is sad. But they've refined a lot of those Force technologies with Jedi Fallen Order, and new consoles and computers. So I mean, this would be great to go revisit that and just have a fun game that could sit outside of this universe and be like, here's some Star Wars.
Like he was iconic for being the character that kind of held his lightsaber upside down, right? That was kind of like his shtick, I think.
On the cover, he had that. And then the actor who did that, I forget his name, he went on to voice Darth Maul in the Clone Wars.
Oh, hey.
So he actually, it's still in the Star Wars universe. Sam Witwer, that's his name.
Yeah, it's all one big Star Wars happy family, right?
Yeah, the game's fun. If you don't get to play it, I get it, but that's a good game to go back and revisit if you got some downtime.
They're probably cheap too. You could probably get both of them in like some sort of online pack for like $20 or something.
Oh, even less than that. They gave them out free for Xbox players this past couple years. So
that was the free option too.
Yeah, probably disc version. You could probably get them even cheaper than that if you wanted to. So, but yeah, if Force Unleashed 3, if you're interested, we're gonna keep you posted on that. But speaking of video games, Mike, this was probably the coolest thing I saw all week in video game world. Spider-Man Miles Morales is less than a month away, coming out PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, and they revealed the first look at the iconic Into the Spider-Verse suit. And not only do you get the suit, Mike, they added extra features to this to make it that much more authentic. And one of that is like a lower frame rate while you're swinging through the city to match up with the movie's low frame rate of him swinging, which I think is fantastic, but I looked like the game was breaking the whole way through.
Yeah, it is a little jarring, especially since on like next gen consoles, you're probably going to be playing in like 60 FPS, and you're having him going at like 12 FPS.
Yeah.
It's just a fun, like it's smart because it's like you knew that they were going to add the suit to the game because it's all owned by Sony. So like, why the hell wouldn't you? So it's just like, yeah, go the extra mile and make it like a little unique. So it's just not straight up a skin that's changing.
Yeah, exactly. And then they also added sound effects on screen, so like you hit someone to like say pow or stuff like that on like finishers.
Yeah.
So like we talked about the Spider Cat thing before. This is even a little, just another cool thing they've added with that's like made the gameplay a little more fun without being as serious as the first Spider-Man one was.
I haven't kept up on all of the gameplay demos. I'm sure there's lots of them out there by now, but I watched this whole video, and there's this cool thing where you can do like this Venom dash when you're like swinging through the city. You can like charge up and you can boost forward. I think in the original Spider-Man game, it was like the zip line thing where you could just shoot a web straight and then move forward, but you can like charge up Venom and kind of propel yourself like a rocket. So that's not that's independent from the suit, but that was in the gameplay.
Yeah.
One thing that was kind of weird, I mean, the Spider-Man missions kind of always had this flaw in the game where some of the missions kind of seem pointless. Like the mission specifically in this gameplay video is Miles has to go turn on some antennas around the city so the firefighter can call for backup for this building that's burning down. But I'm just like, is this specific to his walkie-talkie, or is this like all cell phones are down in the area? Because the bad guys specifically want the building to burn down, so they're jamming communications. But I just kept thinking, hey, Spidey, instead of going around and like turning these antennas back on, why don't you just go to the fire station or just grab somebody's cell phone and make a call? Or if you can't make the call, just like zip on over to the fire station. It's like, hey, there's a building burning down the street. Maybe go help out your friend because he can't call you. So I mean, some of those missions.
No, Mike. This is classic Spider-Man missions. It has gone back 20 years now.
So the mission was a little contrived, but that's kind of besides the point. It just, the game is going to be fun because swinging around is the whole point of the game to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And you get a Spider-Man who's not as, I guess, fluid, not as
he's cooler. He's just straight up cooler in every way.
As Peter. He's learning all the ropes, so you're going to do a lot of new stuff. I expect some repeats from the other one, but at the same time, They are unveiling the suits as they go. There's a lot more. You can check those out online, but I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the big one because I think someone said there's like 45 suits in the first game now. So I'm like,
damn,
that's a lot of suits. And Miles doesn't have that many suits. He's not been around that long. So
they'll make some suits for him for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see where that kind of goes. In the Marvel Universe, Moon Knight is one of the upcoming Disney Plus shows, right? They're working on. They're hiring showrunners and filmers and stuff. And we always want to know who's going to be Moon Knight, who's going to play Mark Spector. And right now, the one person in talks who's probably going to take this role is Oscar Isaac, the one and only, who is known for being Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. Not his fault, but he's still a good actor. But he was also Poe Dameron in all the Star Wars movies. Also probably not his fault.
Yeah, you can tell he's still within that Disney family. I mean, I don't know if this confirms it as official, but if you check out his IMDb page, he's listed as announced for Moon Knight, so I guess we'll see how that goes. I mean, we were talking about Tatiana Maslany being, announced for She-Hulk, so all this stuff always goes through his contracts either way.
Until Marvel says it, they're in talks. So I mean, that's the best way to put it. But yeah, like most of those time those go through. So
yeah, I mean, I think this is great casting. I know a lot of people were really pushing for Keanu Reeves, but I'm starting to feel like the myth of Keanu Reeves is starting to really outpace any role he could possibly take. Right? It's just hard for me to imagine him being a superhero because he like himself is already like a superhero, which makes sense for him to make his own characters. Like, oh, he can be John Wick because he can just make any character he wants because it's basically him. So, I mean, I'm not upset that it's not Keanu Reeves, but I'm almost just kind of curious, like, maybe he's just too cool to be a superhero. Like, he almost doesn't need Marvel, right? One of those few actors where he's like, he doesn't need the cachet of being attached to a property. He can just go make his own stuff. Well, so, yeah, I'm not upset that it didn't end up being the fan casting that everybody wanted.
He's also working on his own comic book that he's been writing called Berserker as well. So, maybe he's saving himself for his own like adaptation of his stuff. And then he in the we talked about Cyberpunk 2077, he's one of the main characters. He's got a lot going on right now. He may not need the Marvel stuff yet, but he could also be saving himself for a larger movie in the right director. So maybe he could be the bad guy in Blade. I could see him in a vampire supernatural movie. Yeah,
it's hard for me to imagine him tying himself down multi-contract to lots of films. Like I could see maybe villain, like one-shot villain possibly that pops up again maybe in an Avengers movie down the line. Yeah,
there's a lot of opportunity for it. So I mean, let's not count him out yet. But I mean, Oscar Isaac, been great actors inside Llewyn Davis, other big movies. Like he's a great actor. Yeah. So, I mean, I think he will be a great Mark Spector because Mark Spector has the crazy ability of having multiple personalities in him that come and go. So they could be like, it's easy like a suave billionaire or like some sort of his regular mercenary persona or like a little girl. So, you have to play all these as an actor, so it's not going to be easy, but I think having Oscar Isaac in this will be
somebody with multiple personalities. One of those personalities is always manic, so I feel like he plays a good manic character, and you see a lot of that in what's the second Star Wars film he's in?
Rise of Return of the Jedi, or
The Last Jedi, right?
Last Jedi.
Yeah, man, all these names now just flow into each other. I can never remember them, but yeah, The Last Jedi. He gets pretty manic in that movie, so I can see him pulling manic off at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that and also like, suave, sophisticated, like his like confident personality in that as well. Like in like the Force Awakens kind of thing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and I think it's a great call. So hopefully, we get to see this come to fruition sooner than later. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of Marvel, they're working on Blade, right? And one of the cool things they said this week was Marvel's actually considering a TV show on Disney Plus for Blade before Mahershala Ali signed on. So. That would have probably been a cool announcement, but I'm fine with the movie still that we don't have any other information on.
Yeah. I wonder if star power was possibly the decision at hand. I mean, Mahershala Ali, Oscar-winning actor, and even though big-name actors are doing streaming content, he's still kind of at his prime right now. He's considered, I would say, fresh off of his Academy Award that I think is just maybe 2 or 3 years old at this point.
Was it the Green Book?
No, it was Moonlight, wasn't it? Shit, I don't remember.
Either way. Well, yeah. I mean, but he also, again, if you remember in his short streaming career at Netflix on Luke Cage was a phenomenal TV. So he may have been burned by that since he was only in half the season. Maybe he's like, I want a movie. They're like, all right, you get a movie now. You want Blade? He's a movie. So,
he won Best Supporting for Green Book, but I think he also won one for Moonlight as well. I mean, he's got a lot of nominations. He gets a lot of awards.
Great actor into a movie that nothing against the original Blade. It's just of its time, right? Late 90s. I'd love to have a reboot.
See, this is why we were both right, Chris. He won Best Supporting for Green Book and Moonlight. Okay. So he's out there winning everything. He's got Emmys for House of Cards, True Detective, Rami, nominated for all of those. One for We Are the Dream, the Kids of Oakland MLK Orchestral Fest. That must be like some sort of like short or special or something like that. But yeah, this dude's out here winning everything, and they're probably like, "We got Mahershala, man. We can make a movie out of this. We don't have to put him on Disney Plus. Let's get him in the box office."
Yeah, what movie do you want, buddy? He's like, "I want Blade." All right, it's yours. Sorry, Wesley Snipes, you're out. But yeah, I think it's fun. This is good stuff. I mean, TV show would have been good. Movies even better, right? So. Sign it up. The Assassin's Creed games gets this new Valhalla version in a couple weeks, Mike. Where they go into the Viking mythology. But Netflix says, to hell with that, let's make a TV show out of this. So they struck a deal, I believe, with Ubisoft to make several, if they want to make several properties. But the first one is a live action series based on the Assassin's Creed world and mythos.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have to defer to you because between the two of us, you're the only one that saw the film.
And I saw it recently. It was like this summer somehow. Yeah. It was like on somewhere. I think it was at my parents' house during like a gathering or something. But like, you know, when you have Michael Fassbender's a great actor, right? He couldn't save that movie, and it's not his fault. But I think what happens here is, you know, Assassin's Creed's hard because there is so much mythos, right? You're not time traveling, you're revisiting memories of someone who was in that era, which is weird with animators, but there's a lot of cool effects. Now, people are like, well, it didn't really work for the movie, but here's the thing. Netflix took The Witcher and turned that sprawling novel stories into something cool.
Yeah, I feel like almost any narrative is improved by being a series in almost every aspect just because you get more time. Like, I could easily imagine The Witcher being a movie and being awful, but the fact that they had time to sit with it and tell a story, this could be a good thing for Assassin's Creed.
Exactly, and they can pick anything they want. They could do a movie adaptations. They can make their own thing. They could do something adjacent even to the game series and be totally fine because they don't have to work together like that. They also said that they were going to do an anime series with this as well at the same time, which is Netflix is diving into anime. They're barreling into it right now.
I only kind of chuckle at it because I feel like every kind of nerdy property at some point in time gets like an anime adaptation. I mean, I always think of like the video game Dead Space, like they made like some anime stuff for that, you know. So it almost kind of feels like anime almost feels like a step above like the comic book adaptation, right? Where like, oh, let's expand on the lore, let's make a comic book, or like, oh, do we have a little bit more money? Like, hey, let's make an anime offshoot. And I always tell myself I'm going to go watch these because like, oh, this would be really cool, and I never get around to it because it's always like a one-off thing, or if it gets more than one episode, you're never going to see a second season of it just because they're never really that serious to begin with about it.
And it could become a movie. So here's the thing. Netflix do this with The Witcher. Do you remember this in January? They announced an anime like backstory of like his mentor.
Kind of.
So like they're able to expand the universe without making TV shows. And dive and tap into that anime loving audience.
Well, and also anime is kind of the only solution. Like animation is the only thing that can really go into production right now. So maybe they're hedging their bets. Like, hey, I mean, the Castlevania stuff is, you know, taking off. The Castlevania anime series is really positively reviewed, and I assume people are watching it because it's gotten at least 3 seasons, which is hard to do at Netflix. And that same animation studio, Powerhouse Studios, that makes Castlevania, is also making a brand new property that's not attached to any IP. It's just about Greek gods, and they've made that all in-house. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe any of this anime stuff, you know, goes to that same studio that has a pretty good tenure with these IPs.
Well, here's the thing also is, you know, not to get
like I said, we don't get political on the show, but like America's about the only country who's still shut down, right? Maybe England. So other countries, especially Japan, where they make anime, they're back to work. They're doing everything. So I don't see this being like something that's gonna be delayed, but like or extra, but like Netflix is like, we can tap into this pretty quickly, and even get maybe maybe an intro series turned around before a live action one did.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is if we want to segue in the next topic, they better keep pushing out stuff because we gotta pay more for it now.
That's right. That's why I said Netflix has raised their prices yet again. It's only $1 for the standard plans, but $2 for the premium plans. So they say they don't like people sharing their accounts, but at this rate, you're gonna have to. The premium plan is the only one with 4K and 4 devices, and it'll be now $18 a month, which is getting up there, Mike. That's getting up there.
I mean, I got a couple things to say here. Number one, I would say that Netflix knows what they're doing. You'll always kind of get like these armchair quarterbacks who are like, "Oh my God, this is crazy! Netflix is going to go under. Are they insane? This is way too expensive. I'm canceling." And then they never get around to canceling. Chris, I think you're the only person I know that has ever actually canceled Netflix.
I did,
and you didn't really do it out of like a principle or something like that. You're just like, I'm just not watching it that much.
I wasn't using it, and and like it's not like I hate them or the price was too much. I'm like, I'm just not using it, so there's no need for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like classic kind of just economics. They've run numbers. They're just like, yeah, we're probably going to lose some subscribers, but everyone's going to be paying us more money. So at net, we're going to be making more, and we're obviously still going to be pushing for new subscribers and other avenues. So you know what? If it backfires, they'll probably pivot and they'll change the price of some plans. So, luckily, everything is streaming competition now. So, you'll see advertisements from like HBO Max saying like, hey, guess what? We're cheaper, or Disney Plus will come in and say like, hey, we don't even charge extra for 4K. Come subscribe with us. This is where your money deserves to be. So that's what's great about having a marketplace like this. But one thing that does worry me just a little bit is this is officially a streaming provider pushing the needle a little bit, seeing how well it goes. I mean, as of right now, I always considered HBO Max to be kind of the premium streaming service because, I was paying $15 for HBO. The only reason I'm paying less right now is because I'm in that sweet promo period, but it will go back up to $15. So now that Netflix is pushing the needle, I'm just like, okay, Netflix, you're definitely giving me quantity for sure. But I mean, come on, I just talked about Hubie Halloween. Some of the stuff that you're putting out really isn't that great because you're just kind of spraying and praying, just to get more subscribers. So it seems like they're really trying to guess, like, how far can we push the price of a streaming service? Well, my guess is none of them will ever go over $20. Because I feel like once you hit that $20 marker, people are really going to be making monthly cost decisions on like, that's $20. I mean, like, come on. You can't really do the cups of coffee equation, that people kind of usually do with like little streaming services and stuff like that. So, hopefully Netflix, if they do another price range, I can't imagine it going over $20, but hopefully we've kind of settled into a price zone.
You don't have premium though.
No, I just have the standard.
So you are paying $14. Mm-hmm. So I mean, saying 20 is different because here's my thing.
Well, I'm just saying eventually it could get to 20.
The only reason I think they're doing that on premium is because again, you get 4 screens at once. They're planning on people to share that one.
Yeah,
like you're sharing that with your neighbors, like we're going halvesies on an account or whatever, like
I mean, it is only a matter of time. It will take a while, but it's only a matter of time before 4K becomes the normal. It'll become the new 1080, and people are just like, I don't want to be on 1080. That's like the old 480,
And the only thing I think Netflix is having a problem with is, right now, it is one of the few streaming providers of not live streaming, but like, video on demand streaming that does not create a lot of its own content. So it's licensing it, right? So it has to pay for that. Like Disney owns everything. They're not paying anyone extra. For their stuff.
I would be curious to kind of see the pie chart at Netflix.
Yeah.
Because when Netflix first started, the pie chart was like 100% licensed content. And, you know, the CEO said, oh, we're going to be changing this ratio as far as we go.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how far it is over now. I wouldn't be surprised if it's close to 50%, half original, half licensed.
You think half of everything on there is from them?
Well, I mean, if you go,
I know they put out a lot, but like I don't know if half is.
I mean, I know it's been a while since you've been on the Netflix page because you don't have it. But
No, I have access to Netflix. Don't get me wrong. I get on there once a month.
I can tell you at the very least, my Netflix recommendations, they almost always put the originals in front of me. Of course, it's the tip of the iceberg. There could be tons of licensed stuff underneath the surface, but they're definitely filling their featured sections with all of their original stuff.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at that. Look here, just pulling up 30. I think it was also. I mean, on there, I think it's the number of streams too, right? You pay per stream, right? Like that's how it kind of goes down. It's like when you stream music, so that's why they're pushing the original. But I'd love to see what that looks like, what the original is, because they're one of the few that don't have strictly original content. And HBO has a lot because it's AT&T. Was it Paramount will have almost all of its stuff on there. NBC is gonna have all that stuff. So I'd love to see what that looks like because Netflix is one of the last vestiges of like, hey, we're a provider. They could definitely get rid of a lot of stuff and offer their own stuff, but their prices would have to drop. But like, I think they're a very unique scenario still, living 20-something years as this service. So the basic plan has unchanged at the end of the day, but that does not even include HD content. Did you know that? It's just regular.
Yeah, it's like this is like for people that only ever watch Netflix on their phone. Even though phones can do high definition, I guess if you're data capped or something like that,
the carriers
at least it's an option. Really, they probably only have the basic plan so they can legally say that like, oh, get Netflix for as low as, and it's like, you know, yeah.
So I think this. I mean, I don't think the pricing is. It's just interesting to say it because like I said, like you mentioned, 4K is stated on HBO and Disney Plus now, right? Like, when are they gonna merge these into one plan? Like, when are they just gonna like, hey, here's our one plan for this? Because not many providers do that or have multiple plans going forward. Amazon Prime, I just want to toss this in here just a little bit. I don't want to get on the soapbox on this one, but apparently there's a lawsuit for them. And their terms and conditions say that even if you buy it through Amazon, you technically don't own it forever. Ugh. So if you're a physical media person and you still love it, do it that way, or just stream it like a normal person would, like through a video on demand rather than a purchase on demand. So just be wary of that. Again, they said none of the things that are out there have been taken away, but it is an option down the road if the original provider was like, no, we don't want to do this anymore.
It's frustrating. I would be more frustrated if streaming wasn't such a thing. I mean, the more and more that we progress through this streaming architecture, I can just, if there's a movie I want to watch, it's streaming somewhere. I don't necessarily have to buy it. Even like some of the new stuff, eventually shows up on like a premium streaming service, after a little bit. But yeah, I would be super upset if I bought something and I go back to try to watch it and it's not there anymore. These providers should at the very least have the common decency to credit you back your purchase. Like if I bought, I don't know, just like Pirates of the Caribbean, if I digitally purchased that and, I canceled my Disney Plus subscription and I still want to be able to watch it, I still should be able to watch it. And if I go back and there's some sort of license that expired and, the only place I can watch it now is Disney Plus, I should at least be credited back because, I was just basically bought a very long-term rental with no structure, with no like solid end date. So yeah, I would be happy to see this get pushed and possibly go to like the Supreme Court one day. I know it's not necessarily like the biggest deal in the world, it's not killing anybody, but I feel like something like that at some point should be litigated in a higher court, right? Because it just kind of seems like they're lying to you.
Well, but they're not lying to you because they do cover that. Like they're not at fault if a provider says, we don't want to give this to you anymore. Who do you do with it? It's the provider of the content that should be at fault, not like Amazon.
But I feel like the point of the courts and the point of the government is to protect the people, especially the people that pay taxes for the government to operate, that lets these business thrive and flourish, in the world. So it's just kind of like if the normal layperson doesn't understand that there's a deep contractual obligation underneath something that they thought they bought would expire one day, I think that at some point in time they should be protected. So, at the very least, there should be some sort of annoying pop-up every time you buy something that says, hey, you might not actually own this. So at least that pushes, these services to find a way to improve it a little bit so they don't always have to have that pop-up. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. And again, I lean the other way. I think, at the same time, like it is a risk with everything because no one they have to update these things faster, like contracts faster, right? I was talking with someone about the Black Widow thing. I'm like, well, literally when that movie was made, there are contracts and you have to go to the movie theater and we get X amount of proceeds, right? They're not going to give up that profit to just put it on Disney Plus and make nothing.
Well, the fairest thing to do is if I buy a digital version of a feature film after it's released, if I don't technically own it, make it cheaper. It definitely shouldn't cost $20 anymore, because I don't own it. Like a physical
digital
DVD.
pricing is definitely. I mean, I feel the same way about video games, right? Like I can go walk in buy a used video or not use a brand new video game on disc for $5, right? I go to the store, it's still like $45-$50. So there's definitely digital pricing is interesting and what that entails. So it definitely needs to be looked at. But just a reminder, if you purchase anything on there, that you don't really own those. Suicide Squad. James Gunn revealed this week that he got the call for Guardians 3 to be rehired the day after he took his Suicide Squad job. So everyone seems to be fine with it. There's nothing really out of the ordinary here. It's just, if you got job offers, take them, right? If it all works out. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like they're just like, we've got to make sure he doesn't get tangled up within Warner Brothers, right? Because Warner Brothers was all gung-ho. They're like, you can make any movie you want. Anything's on the table for you. He's the one that chose Suicide Squad because they let him choose whatever he wanted. So if they were open to, like, okay, after Suicide Squad, you want to make a Batman movie, Superman, do whatever the hell you want to do. You want to do this Dark Universe? We'll contractually sign you on to 5 Dark Universe movies. You can work here for the next 30 years if you want. So I think Disney was just like, oh shit, he was supposed to make our cosmic universe, and there was a kerfuffle about an old tweet, and now we're about to lose him. So yeah, that very well could just be what happened.
But also at the same time, I think he said like they didn't know he was hired by Warner Brothers at that point. Like he didn't sign the ink before the ink dried, tweet about it, right? So
there's assistants that talked. I feel like somebody got wind of something.
Well, I'm sure they knew. I'm sure. I mean, he went to Kevin Feige. He was like, "Can I go do this?" And he was like, "Yeah, you're fine." I mean, Disney fired you. Like, what can I can tell you no, right? Like. But at the same time, that's good that they can do all this back and forth. It feels like forever since we had a Guardians movie. So hopefully, we get that sooner than later. People are very excited for this, but also he said, again, like you said, DC gave him, when he took the Suicide Squad, he can have any character on the team that he wanted. So, very interesting to see what he does with this, kind of a free reign, a creatively free reign movie, if you will, for that. Of characters I don't even know about, like Polka Dot Man. In the DC Universe, Titans is moving forward with Season 3, and you get our first look at Red Hood from this. Looks pretty good.
He looks a lot like the Red Arrow. Like the only difference in the costume is they put a faceplate over him. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of CW Red Arrow vibes out of this guy, except he's got the mask seems a little large, right? Doesn't it seem like the chin's maybe a little bit too... I don't know. It kind of looks like a kid wearing an adult mask.
Well, I think where the way the hood comes down to the zipper is way too wide. Mm-hmm. Like it's in the wrong place. I think it was up, but playing or knowing about the Red Hood and all that stuff. This is essentially the guy who was playing Robin forever, right? And in the first 2 seasons, is in this same guy in this outfit. It's very tactical, very very
Yeah.
He's going to shoot somebody.
Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, this is what happens kind of when you take a CW-esque show but give it a little bit more budget. You get the time to put like a little bit more stitching into the costume. Mm-hmm. Like a CW show wouldn't have had like this, this 8-pack stitched into the suit. They probably would have done something more streamlined. This costume looks like somebody had to take time to fabricate and like 3D print stuff on there. So I'm digging it. There's nothing wrong about this except for maybe the mask is a little bit too large, but just splitting hairs.
Yeah, and I think if you go back and look at him, like it's very iconic. I mean, I'm glad they got the white eyes in the mask and everything. Like this is unmistakably who this is. You're like, oh, that's Red Hood. Like, oh yeah, I get it. For that,
man,
so it's pretty good for that.
I feel like I need to watch Titans. I mean, this is the first time I've seen something promoted from the show where I'm like, yeah, maybe I need to watch that show. And it should be all on HBO Max by now, right? Or is it not quite there yet?
Let me see. I actually just had Just Watch pulled up before this.
Yeah, I mean, at the bottom of this promo, it does say HBO Max on it. The DC Universe copyright.
Well,
that
I'm
is
pretty
not
sure
allowed on anything anymore.
2 seasons are on HBO Max.
Gotcha.
HBO Max and DC, and 1 season's on DC Universe. What?
Yeah, I couldn't quite remember if Titans had made the migration before the big migration of all of the DC stuff that's supposed to happen.
It hadn't yet. Doom Patrol did. Season 2 was part of it, but
Yeah.
it looks like it's on there. Yeah, I've only seen the first episode, but I mean, knowing that it's on HBO Max, it's interesting. Gonna talk about some other little offshoots here. The Gremlins prequel animated series. I believe this is from HBO Max as well.
Damn, that just reminded me. That was the one Halloween movie that I said I was gonna watch that I never got around to watching was Gremlins 2. Gremlins.
Isn't that a Christmas movie?
No, the first one. The first one is very grounded in the Christmas holiday. But as far as I know, I don't think Gremlins 2 is tied to any sort of calendar date because I remember seeing scenes of outside the office building. I don't remember snow or anything like that. But yeah, I was going to watch Gremlins 2 because my wife hadn't seen it in like a million years and neither had I. And I was like, oh, we got to watch it. Then right afterwards, we got to go watch the Key and Peele sketch where it's the writer's room that's pitching the story for Gremlins 2, which is a hilarious sketch. But man. Yeah, animated series. Sorry, I forgot to watch.
No, you're fine. I mean, so HBO Max is working on an animated prequel here, and we get our first look at it here with showing 1920s China, where the Mogwai kind of came from. So it looks like it's going to be family friendly, kind of unlike the horror comedy that the other ones are. So looks like they're going to be doing that. But I mean, it's a pretty interesting look here, Mike. Looks very stylized.
If somebody is really, really interested in the production of this show, I don't remember the showrunner's name off the top of my head, but he's very active on Twitter. A lot of the people that I follow on Twitter seem to like his tweets or retweet him, so I see him pop up in my feed quite a bit. So he seems to be very active out there, so I don't know. He seems like the type of person that you might even be able to reach out to and send him like a direct tweet if you want to know more about the Gremlins animated series.
Yeah, I was trying to look here to see if it doesn't have it down here, but it talks about our other thing here coming up on HBO Max. So you can read about Variety and where they're going with their animated stuff. But the other thing is, I shared this with you earlier this week, is Gendy Tartakovsky's upcoming series on HBO Max / Cartoon Network called Unicorn Warriors Eternal was announced. And it looks to be very interesting here. I can't quite pin the anime style. It doesn't strike me as Samurai Jack.
Yeah,
maybe
it almost seems like Gendy maybe was developing the show maybe with some other creatives because Gendy has a very, very iconic 2D style. You see it in literally everything he's made, even his most recent show Primal. You can see his touches all over it. This almost seems like it's Gendy's aesthetic, but maybe paired with another character designer.
It's very rounded compared to his other harsh lines.
Yeah, so maybe he's just being a really auteur here. Maybe he's deciding, hey, if I'm making something new, I should kind of expand the way I look at it. The first thing I thought when I saw it was Gendy's name is on it, but I wonder if he's really going to be the showrunner of it, right? There could be another very veteran animation person who is really in control of it, and maybe Gendy is just kind of like the top level person that gives notes kind of on the universe and story. But all we have here is just kind of like I would say like almost like a temp poster is kind of what it looks like, but it looks cool. I mean, I kind of get like almost like steampunk Victorian vibes out of it.
Yeah, so it takes it revolves around an ancient teen heroes who are built from lore and mythos from around the world. But it's also being built as an anthology style series.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
So maybe these are different from different episodes. Maybe this cover here isn't from that in particular. But I believe he is the showrunner and designer of the show. If I go look back at the article, but I mean, it looks interesting for sure. Like it looks like this is going to be split between HBO Max and Cartoon Network delivery. So if you don't have Cartoon Network, you can always catch on HBO Max. So.
Yeah, I was trying to read the press release too, and I feel like it wasn't totally clear because is it just going to be produced by Cartoon Network Studios and then air on HBO Max, or will it be simultaneously on both platforms? I wasn't totally sure about that. Because if it's just strictly for HBO Max, that would be pretty exciting because I feel like they're a little edgier over there with their cartoons. They don't have to worry so much about broadcast standards since Cartoon Network is a cable, since it's a cable network. So, yeah, I kind of hope it goes that direction. If it happens to air on Cartoon Network, I hope it airs like in the 9:30 time slot, just before Adult Swim turns over, so they can go a little edgier with it. I don't want them to have to like constrain to like what like a 10-year-old is allowed to see on TV.
Yeah. From Deadline, it says it's produced by Cartoon Network Studios for HBO Max and Cartoon Network.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like it'll hit it both, but I mean, they announced this. What was the other thing? A Looney Tunes University or Tiny Toons?
Yeah,
University
Tiny Toons is coming back. Oh man, I remember. I was telling you with Tiny Toons. For some reason, I really remember the movies. I don't know if the Tiny Toon movies ever hit the theaters or if it was more like a 60, 90-minute episode that was like specially aired on cable. But I distinctly remember the longer narrative of some sort of movie. So yeah, I don't know. I just have like Tiny Toons ingrained in the back of my brain, much like Entrapment are occupying like the same spots, which is pretty funny.
There was one movie, and they released it and then re-edited it as part of episodes in the series.
Oh, so that's probably why it seems weird. Yeah. I probably do remember seeing it theatrically, but then also chopped up on TV in odd orders.
Yeah, but they went ahead and did 2 seasons of that right out the gate. So
HBO Max, they're really taking off on the animation side of things. I watched. I didn't put it in the QuaranStream because I didn't really get that much into it, but at least the first season of the anime Mob Psycho is dubbed over on HBO Max, and I only watch my anime dubbed because I'm a scrub like that. But yeah, I'd wanted to check out Mob Psycho for a while, so if you've been waiting like me, you can check it out over on HBO Max.
There you go. Lastly, we're going to end our show in our Nick Cage corner here yet again.
The Cage match.
A 15-second teaser for what's called Willy's Wonderland. And as my thought went through my head, the same thing Mike said out loud when he watched it earlier. Five Nights at Freddy's, but with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that's what it is. And this almost seems like really smart because the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I'm sure, is taking its time in development over at Blumhouse. They're probably trying to build a franchise much like the video games came out in series. So they're probably trying to build a world, write a smart script, hire good actors and really fit kind of like the millennial niche that likes the game. And then over here, Nick Cage is just like, no, I'm going to star in the ripoff that just happens to take place in a Chuck E. Cheese-esque place with like Matronics like running after us. So they're getting the jump, and they're kind of almost doing like an Asylum move where they're doing a knockoff well before the Five Nights proper movie gets to come out.
Oh yeah, and like it looks like a typical horror trapping. You have animatronics. There's blood on things. Some girls like a lot of cleavage unzipped even up close. You're like, yeah, this is gonna be very very schlocky, very B movie esque. So much like the jujitsu one we watched last week, this was less full of lines, but like still full of schlock. All right, Mike. Well, that's the episode. We're gonna wrap it up here. We're gonna go edit these together. If people want to know what you're up to, where they can find you at this week?
Yeah, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter. Please reach out and let me know if my microphone sounded weird. Do I need to put the pop filter back on? Do I need to adjust anything? Chris is gonna know this more than me once he gets my audio once I upload it. But I don't really know. This is all an experiment over here. So you can follow me at Mike Royer Design, and you can read my webcomics over at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or Instagram, Valdan87. I'll probably put up my Halloween costumes here in a little bit. Show people what it was, so if you want to go check them out, you can see them on there. If people want to know more about our show or episodes, leave us a review, buy some swag, I don't know, whatever they want to do, where can they find all that at?
Oh, that's so easy to do. Just visit superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So if you don't want to track down that Willy's Wonderland teaser, who in God's green earth knows where that could possibly be? Don't
type that in your search bar.
Yeah, we got that link here in the show notes. You can check out the Red Hood picture over there, the Miles Morales Spider-Man verse. We got some links in the show notes. You can go check those out. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. We're there as well. Please like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. You can get merch over at superheroslate.com/store. Reach out. We love hearing from you. What are you thinking about the holiday seasons? How soon do you watch your Christmas movies? I do my best to hold off until at least after Thanksgiving. I know this is all very American-centric timelines. You know, who knows? People in Australia could be watching their Christmas movies already. It's like summer over there, which is kind of weird. I thought about that the other day, that like they regularly get to have Christmas in shorts, if that's something that they celebrate. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, are you ready to watch your Christmas movies? Do you carry over your Halloween movies? You know, do you give yourself a little bit of a buffer? Because I know the Warzone Call of Duty Halloween event is still going on for at least, I think at least till Tuesday is usually when those things end over there. So there's some dregs of Halloween still out there. So reach out, let us know what you're doing for the holidays. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, it's so easy to do. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, wear your mask, properly social distance. Please vote in person or drop your mail-in ballot off at a drop box. It's too late to mail those things. They're not going to get there in time, and somebody's just going to burn your vote, and it's not going to matter. So luckily, this is the last episode that I have to mention go voting, and hopefully the world will right itself, and we'll be back to a normal course of human existence come Sunday. That's all I have to say, Chris.
All right, then. Well, if that's all you got, Mike, we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Computer, new microphone, got an offer. You were just all over the place.